Hi everyone, it's Ashley with Relaxing Creations Company. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we are still a new YouTube channel, so we're slowly growing. If you like the videos that we're putting out, don't forget to like and subscribe. That really helps us out. Today we're going to be making one of my last fall autumn soaps. It's actually already available in my shop. I have a couple of the sample packs available still that has this in it, and then I have the single bars also. What I'm doing here is just a time lapse of the heat transfer method. So I took the hot lye water solution and poured directly into the solid oils, and you're just seeing a time lapse of me using that hot lye to melt the solid oils there. And then here I'm adding the room temperature liquid oils. The heat transfer method really works for me. It speeds up the process. You don't have to wait for everything to cool down. You can measure all your ingredients and basically get to work right away. So for my busy lifestyle, I know I've said that before, but that really works well for me. So if you haven't tried it out yet, it may be something that'll work well for you as well. Now I'm adding some goat milk. Goat milk has wonderful benefits for your skin. It's so moisturizing for that dry, itchy skin in the wintertime. And what I'm doing here is I'm actually hand mixing my oils. And again, it's just a time lapse. I mix it for much longer than what you're seeing in the video. But this way, it's going to allow me to work with the batter much longer so it doesn't speed up trace. So I just hand mix it until it's mixed enough to where I can pour it off and it's not separated, and then I'll have to mix it again in each different bowl. So here we go. We're going to pour it off into our different bowls. And this allows me to then set the other bowls aside and work on, as many one at a time or as many as I want. And then I can just go back and, stir that back up and then hand mix it. And then I'll use the stick blender as well when we add the colors. I cannot pour soap batter without making a mess. I actually did really well this time. Half the time it goes down the side of the outside of the bowl, so that's why you don't always see my pouring in the shot, because for some reason I'm either not paying attention or I'm just not that coordinated. And here is our fragrance oil we're using from Nuture Soap. It's called Artemis. This one, it's kind of hard to read there, but it has no acceleration, and this will discolor to a medium brown. And that is going to be my mica that I use for this set right here, Ruby Red from Nuture Soap. All of my mica colorants, for the most part, come from Nuture Soap. They have a wonderful colorant selection. When the soap fragrance oil is a discoloring fragrance oil, make sure you can try to design your soap colors to where if it does discolor a little bit, it's going to discolor in your benefit, or you're choosing those darker colors that aren't going to discolor as much. So since this is a medium brown, this ruby red may go to a brownish, but it'll still have that reddish color. So at least that's what I'm hoping at this point. And even though this fragrance oil says there's no acceleration, I still like to add the fragrance oil to each batch separately, just in case it were to speed up trace. And then here I am zapping this with the stick blender. And it depends how long you want to mix it. If you want to mix it to where it's going to set up, if you're doing different layers, or if you want to mix it to where you're going to get that nice even pour, that's completely up to what your design is. So I had it decently thick, but still, thin enough that I could have left a nice straight line. I covered it for a little while. Just if you cover it in between your layers, that helps it set up a little bit quicker. And this is just a cake decorating tool that I had bought at Walmart, so I was trying out. I would like to make one that fits my mold a little bit better, because it is kind of hard to line everything up, but it did the trick and it actually turned out really nice. So I'm going to just show a couple time-lapse passes here. And the extra that I'm taking out there just goes in a separate mold that I just end up keeping for myself. That way there's no waste. And now I'm going in with some of the Shimmer Gold Mica. I use this one a lot for my mica lines. The Shimmer Gold is also from Nuture Soap. As you can see, that mica just makes like a rain windstorm. I don't know what you call it, but it blows everywhere. So mica definitely is a lot of sparkle mess, but it's worth it. And the goal to these mica lines is you want to get it thick enough that it's going to cover the whole surface, but you don't want it too thick to where it's going to separate your soap later. So another trick to the mica line is after you put it on there, I always spray mine with rubbing alcohol that kind of sets the mica in place. And this is Magic Moments for one of my other colors here. I have my colors, my mica's already pre-mixed in some olive oil. That just helps me blend them in my soap batter a little bit easier. I sometimes will throw the mica directly in the soap batter, but it's harder to mix up. And you saw the other color, I believe it was called Copper Penny. I showed on my screen too fast there. But again, this color is to a medium brown, so I'm going with brown colors already. Just so if it discolors, it's just going to darken these two colors up. I get these little mini baby whisks from the Dollar Tree. So if you are a soaper, a lot of my equipment is got from the Dollar Tree. These nice bowls and a lot of the utensils that I use. Some of them I've ordered on Amazon or directly from the soap suppliers, but a majority of them I've gotten from the Dollar Tree. I'm sorry about the camera angle. When you're soaping and you're busy, you're in the moment, you don't always realize you're not centered in the screen. So at least you can see what I'm doing, but I understand it's not centered. I probably do a lot of unnecessary stirring when it comes to the soap, but you would just want to make sure that it's mixed very thoroughly. If you don't mix in your fragrance oil, you'll get fragrance oil pockets. Obviously, if the color is not mixed in, you might have some patches where it's uncolored, or if you're using just the straight mica poured into the soap batter, you can get the mica speckles in there if they're not properly mixed. So you've got to watch not over stirring, which is why I do a lot of hand stirring and then come in with my stick blender when I feel that I've done the most of it with my whisk or my spatula there. Because the more you stir, the more you stick blend, the faster it's going to thicken up and the less time you have to work with it. So just be careful. And then this was the little one that I had poured off. I did not add fragrance oil or color into this one. I just wanted to have a little bit, since again the fragrance oil discolors. I figured this would just be a little bit of a swirl that would be much lighter than the others, in case these two colors here in the big bowls are not as opposite enough of colors, in case they ended up being one solid color at the end. I wanted to make sure we had a little bit of a difference in there, so that was my game plan here. But sometimes even the slightest difference in color, it's going to show up in the soap, as long as it's not over mixed together. And this is called the in the pot swirl, so I'm just taking all the 3 different colors and pouring them into one pot. I give it just a very light stir. Since it's getting a little thick, I wanted to make sure everything got mixed around in there. And then I used the spatula to break the fall so we didn't go through that first layer there we already had poured up. And off camera there, I did smack my mold down to release any air pockets. And now I'm just drizzling some of that unscented, uncolored on the top. I'm going to shimmy it, smack it down just a little bit more. Smacking it on the table, that just releases the air pockets, as I mentioned before. It's important. I mean, it's just a cosmetic thing. It doesn't hurt your soap if you don't, but sometimes if you have air bubbles in there, it will leave bubbles in your soap. And soapers are perfectionists. We want to get as much of that out as we can, because to us, these are little works of art. So we want to make sure that it looks as nice as we can have it. And I'm just taking a spoon and kind of just tossing the top up, just ruffling it up and mixing that uncolored in with the colored. And what I do is I sprayed the top there with rubbing alcohol, which you didn't see that on screen, but now I'm just dusting it with that shimmer gold mica again. This gives the top just a little bit of a sparkle. This isn't glitter, biodegradable glitter. This is actually the mica, not in olive oil, just in like a spray pump container here. So we've got a nice pretty sparkle. And what I will do is I will cover this up for at least 24 hours, 18 to 24 hours, and let it go through gel phase. And then we will come back and I slice it into 2 loaf molds. I usually don't show that on screen, but I'll slice this into 2 molds and we are going to cut it into bars. And this is to show you what it looks like. So you can see how much that uncolored does pop on the top, so I'm glad I did do that. But you can also see the 2 different colors of the browns did stay separate as well, so I was happy to see that. And this end piece we'll use as a sample piece, so I'm going to set that aside. And I cut my soap bars about 1.25 inches. That way that leaves me a little bit of room to plane and not lose, to go under 1 inch. My finished bars are still a little over 1 inch thick, and then they fit very nicely in my soap boxes. That swirl turned out really pretty. I'm glad I added the uncolored in there as well. And my little design there on the bottom isn't perfect, but I think it looks very nice. The mica line turned out. You still see some of that sparkle on the top. So I'm very pleased with the finished product here. Now, as I mentioned before, this soap was actually made probably about 2 months ago. I'm just now getting the video up. So it is fully cured and packaged on the shelf, ready to go. Something I've also started doing in this batch, and I think it's liked, so I'm going to continue doing it, is I'm going to be cutting sample pack bars. So I have started cutting some of my soap bars basically half the size, 3/4 of a length. And I put them together. My last one had 5 packs or 5 different samples. I don't know if that's what I'll always do, but then that way the 3/4, so just under 1 inch, it still makes a really good size bar, and you can use it. They would last, a decent amount of time. You can use it in your guest bathroom or just for hand washing. So the sample packs are nice if you want to try out different fragrances, or if you're like me and the soap lasts so long, because our bars of soap do last several weeks. Depending on how you use it. I don't know how, but my husband can use a bar of soap and I can use a bar of soap, and his goes so much faster than mine, so I don't know, if he lathers it up more than I do, I don't know. But this bars of soap do last quite some time, and sometimes you're getting tired of that same scent, you want to try something different, so those smaller sample packs allow you to, get more uses out of different fragrances. So it works out for a couple different benefits. Look at that swirl. That one turned out really pretty. I think the colors all complement each other. Really nice fall design. So I was really happy with how this turned out. I love the tall skinny bars. They were my favorite. I was so glad I finally did buy one of those molds from Workshop Heritage. They make great molds. The silicone that they use is very, very floppy, so it's very easy to unmold the soap. So all around, I had nothing but great experience with that mold that I bought from them. And I'm sure I will be purchasing more in the future. And here is my finished product. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like the video. Comments are left below. The soap is available at my website listed here on screen. Have a great day.